later. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the speaker for today. We have with us Ms. Lama Majaj. Ma'am is a clinical director of Extraordinary People in Singapore and a heart math certified trainer. She is an art psychotherapist with over 18 years of experience in education, healthcare, humanitarian settings. Her practice integrates humanistic psychotherapy with somatics, movement, and expressive arts to support individuals with special needs. She is also a part-time lecturer at the MA Art Therapy program at LaSalle College of the Arts, Singapore, and a dynamic embodiment and body-mind dancing candidate founded by Dr. Martha Eddy. Ms. Lama was invited as a psychosocial support consultant to implement trauma-informed care in Kurdish Iraq, Cambodia, and dementia. She has held positions internationally in the Middle East, Asia, and Australia, where she has founded the Arts in Healthcare program at the Olivia Newton-John Cancer Wellness and Research Center. It's a pleasure to have you with us, ma'am. I would also tell you that ma'am has something exciting for you all. Stay tuned until the end of the session till I tell you all what that is. And the session would be for 2 hours, 1 hour of knowledge sharing by the expert, and after that, we'll have the question and answer round. And the chat settings would be switched to hosts and panelists during the speaker sharing. Wishing you all a very happy learning. Over to you, Lama ma'am. Are you with us? Fantastic.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Shivani, and welcome everybody. Welcome to this wonderful webinar. Welcome to Ability. I'm so grateful and honored to be here with everyone here today. I'd also like to thank Ability for this wonderful opportunity. It's just so wonderful to see everybody from around the world with us here. It's just wonderful to have you on Zoom and just acknowledge this. I'd like to start with just inviting everybody. I know that we're going to be talking about academic stress, but before we start, I'd like you to just open up your arms and take a deep breath in for me and focus on the area of your heart and imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of your heart center. And just feel the energy of everyone here. We have about 400 people with us here today. I'm very grateful and truly honored. And thank you very much for joining me. It's going to be a very enriching opportunity for me to get to know you better. And I will share with you a little bit about children, their nervous system, and then we'll follow up with the Q&A at the end. So just before I launch into this, I just want to hear from everybody here in the webinar. If you are, just let me know, type yes in the chat if you are here because you really want to help your child or children in your community and you're not really sure how. And type yes in the chat if you are wanting to develop and nurture resilient children, because you know and you acknowledge how they are so stressed, not just with academics, but with also the demand of what's happening in this very fast life. Great. And type yes if you are here because you really want to connect to your children or the children in your family and you want to have better relationship and an opportunity for them to thrive, because the world need children that are resilient, are able to cope. Okay, great, wonderful, guys, great. So this is your space. This webinar is for you, and hopefully I will be able to share with you what I have learned over the last 2 decades in my career working internationally. So welcome, and again, thanks a lot for Ability for this wonderful, great opportunity. So let me just share with you my slides, and we'll take it from there, and then we'll jump into the Q&A towards the end. All right. Let me just go to full view. Okay, all right. So the title of today is How to Help Children Overcome Academic Stress. And hopefully in 30 minutes, I'll teach you a little bit about the impact of the nervous system, some insights about stress. How does stress accumulate in the body? How does the stress affect the brain and brain development? And hopefully I can share with you a little bit about your role as parents or caregivers or teachers in helping children thrive and cope. So what is stress exactly, and how does it really get into our system? Okay, stress is not just psychological, it's actually a physiological state. When we are stressed, our heart races, our hormone levels is all over the place. The stress hormone in the body that gets produced is called cortisol. And prolonged duration of stress, the more the child is under stress, or us as adults are under stress, the more the hormonal level in the body gets affected. Okay, it can come from an event or even just a thought. And in fact, in research studies, they've were able to track how the blood actually gets within 16 seconds just by activating a thought, one thought about something fearful. What happens in the brain is that the blood within 16 seconds gets diffused out of the brain into the peripheral system. And that's what we call a challenging or demanding situation, because we tap into a space called a flight-fight zone. I don't know if any of you have heard the flight-fight zone in the last 5 or 10 years, that people have been talking about the nervous system, about how we get into a flight-fight zone. That's when we get into a space where we are activated. Unfortunately, with the modern day life and all the stresses that we are experiencing, a lot of people are actually under constant chronic stress. So our body has the capacity to manage that on a physiological level. And it responds to that by changing the hormones and increasing certain levels in the system that's just about basically trying to cope with whatever stresses is happening. Okay. It's a natural feeling of not being able to cope with specific demands if it gets too much or too chaotic. So how does this show? With kids, they don't come and tell you, oh, I'm really stressed, or I feel like I can't handle it. Children express it in a different way. Children might have trouble sleeping. They might get constipated, for example. They might have tummy aches, or headaches, and they're not really sure why. Because a lot of things that happens on a physiological level is actually unconscious. A lot of times the stress increases, but the child is not able to ascertain how this whole thing is happening. So it's a psychosomatic aspect. The body communicates, and then the child starts to feel these physical symptoms, and it can change how they are able to cope and deal with whatever's happening in the world. So it's really important to tune in and listen to what is your child saying. Yeah, a tummy ache doesn't have to be just a bug. Yeah, there might be that they're experiencing some stresses that we're not aware of. Could be at school, it could be from friends, it could be from even a teacher, or a school environment that's overwhelming. And everything that's been happening over the last 2 to 3 years with the whole COVID situation. Now children are going back to whatever we call normal, but that's also another way of adjusting to another change. Yeah. Children like to have some routine, some basic things that are repeated. And over the last 2 years, they have lost a lot of their childhood. They're not able to connect. They're not able to play. They don't really understand why they have to wear masks, depending on the age, especially if they are children with special needs, or they have particular sensory issues. And they don't really understand what's happening to the situation. And they adjusted in a way. And now all of a sudden we are opening up. And that's another trigger and another way to adjust to another change, because things have to kind of go back. So just being very mindful of what is the body of the child communicating to me? Are they constipated? Are they not able to sleep? Are they worried? Just tuning in. And you can find a lot of this actually on the child's expression and faces. Okay. So let's go to academic stress. Okay. So on top of everything that the child is experiencing, there's also the stress of studies and learning. Yeah. In fact, actually, the learning process is not stressful for the child. What's really stressful here, and in the research, they have discovered that things are like, am I going to fail? Fear of failure, or fear of not being heard, or fear of not being, or the demand of what the parents' expectations are. So it's not the actual study per se, but it's just that how the child is perceiving what's coming their way. That's very key and very important. So sometimes it's just taking a minute to tune in and just ask the child, how are they thinking about the situation? Do they feel that it's a big task and they can't really accomplish it? Yeah. And maybe just breaking it down. So academic stress is defined as the body's response to academic related demands that exceed the adaptive capabilities of students. Studying or learning is not the stressful factor. It is how the child perceives learning or expected outcomes from parents or from exams, the idea behind it. It's a perceived threat behind it. And unfortunately, this type of stress is on a daily basis. And sometimes that can also trigger a lot of kids to lose their life or commit suicide, and end their life because their experience, it's very overwhelming. So how do we link the brain? What's the link between stress and the brain, and how does it impact the brain? Our brain is naturally designed and this is through evolution, is naturally designed for us to survive. Okay, so if you think of our ancestors in the back, in the past, when they used to live in the wilderness, the brain constantly assesses: is this safe? Is this not safe? Is there, a beast in the distance? Is there a lion in the distance? I have to go hunt for my food. I have to take it back. I have to, So we are through an evolutionary process, we are wired for survival. Okay, so the brain will always has that negativity biased. Yeah, if you let's say you're doing laundry and there's a huge white sheet, okay, and on that sheet there's a red dot, your eye will automatically go to the red dot because you are wired to notice these particular things. So I want you to now think that everything that we do, everything that we act, or our breath, conscious or unconscious, everything that you have felt, done, has been a result in brain activity. Okay, so just keep that in mind and know that our brain is wired for survival. All right. So when we are stressed, there's something called the stress response system. And a lot of things I'm not going to get too scientific here, but you can Google this just to understand that the whole entire body is actually very connected. And there's certain chemicals that gets triggered, and the cortisol level gets high and the adrenaline gets triggered by this HPA axis. Okay, so it's very important to notice that even with one thought, okay, just the idea that, oh my God, I have an exam, or oh my goodness, I'm remembering a bad experience that I have had, I can actually activate, and this is the beauty of our mind, is that we can actually activate any state that we want to activate by a particular memory or a thought. Okay. So this stress response is very complex, and it's important to understand that everything is connected, and there's biochemical reactions that happens just because we activate certain things. Now, how does the brain really processes all this information? I just want you to know that there's input and there's output, okay? And what the brain, everything that comes through the input comes through the system and gets interpreted, and then the brain actually looks at the information and then makes a decision. Okay, so even in a millisecond, the brain is constantly doing this. I'm talking right to you right now, and the inputs that's coming through my system is not just the light and everything from my five senses. There is memory, there's thoughts in my head, there's previous memories, there's also internal. So I'm receiving things internally from my internal environment. And what does that look like? This is what something called interoception. Okay, this is the body's ability to sense on the inside what's happening internally. What's my sugar level? What's my calcium level? How's my blood pressure? How's my respiration? Everything through that input level comes through. So there's internal environment information coming through. There's external environment information coming through. There's also input from previous memories and thoughts and previous experiences. And it's all coming through like a wave into the brain, through the nervous system, from the body into the brain. In fact, 80% of the information travels from the body into the nervous system, into the brain, through the nervous system into the brain. So 80% goes bottom up and 20% goes top down. Okay. So notice if the child is if the child is receiving information, they are in an unsafe environment, for example, or they perceive that what they are experiencing, like an exam hall, okay, and that's triggering a perceived threat response, yeah, then the child is constantly feeling unsafe. All right. So and why am I saying perceived threat versus threat? Because everything that's happening externally, it might actually not be dangerous, but the way I view it, the way I look at it, the way my brain consciously and unconsciously interprets it can trigger a response into my nervous system, because my brain is constantly assessing, is this safe? Is this not safe? Is this safe? Is this not safe? And it's constantly comparing it to previous memories that I have had. All right. So if the brain decides, all right, and this is unconscious, a lot of it is unconscious. Okay. If the brain decides that the situation is unsafe, for example, an exam, that means that the child will automatically is not feeling safe. That triggers the survival response, which means it's like their nervous system gets activated into a flight fight response, as if they have just seen a snake in the wilderness. Okay. So what happens when we are in a survival response? There's actually the neurocortex and the thinking brain is not activated. There's actually no blood in that area. There's very little blood, because most of the blood gets pumped into the rest of this, the hands and feet, because we need to run or fight. That's the actual physiological response that happens. Okay. So if our survival response gets triggered when we are not safe, and that's an unconscious process, then we are constantly stressed. Okay. So we are actually not able to think clearly. Our heart rate is higher, and we are in a response that needs us to move or get away from a dangerous response. All right. Versus if if all the inputs through the brain is perceived in a way that is a safe response, then the child will perform. And that's what we call a flow state, or a state where there's no inhibition, there's no fear, that nothing is affecting that child, and they're able to learn. They're actually very happy, they're content. Okay, so just notice here that stress is a physiological reaction into the nervous system. Sometimes it's interpreted by the brain as a perceived threat, and it's a continuum. Okay, and when we are in survival mode, there's more pain, there's more physical pain, there's more tummy aches, there's more constipation, because the system is more like inflamed. Okay, versus when we are in performance mode, we are able to move better, we are able to think better, we can manage our emotions better. That's why activating that flow state, which is a parasympathetic relaxed state, then we are able to perform better. And this is the state that we talk a lot about, this state, the flow state, in the psychology of sports or performance. Okay. So how is this brain connected to everything? Okay, so the brain is actually part of the autonomic nervous system. And you've got the brain here, and then you've got the spinal cord. So this is the brain, and the spinal cord is called central nervous system. And whatever branches out is called peripheral, because it goes on to the sides. Okay, so there's this wonderful, I just want you to have a look at this amazing vagus nerve. And vagus means wandering nerve. Okay, because it goes everywhere. And the vagus nerve is very old, and it has different levels of activation. It's the sympathetic and parasympathetic activation states. But what's unique about the vagus nerve is it goes actually around your lungs, your heart, your organs, your spleen, your liver, your pancreas, everywhere, all the way down to the gut. So do you see the link between how your thoughts can affect your physiological state and vice versa? Okay, so it's important to understand the impact of this vagus nerve and how it's all interconnected and interlinked. Okay, so I'll just give you examples of states, the different states that the children might be experiencing. Okay, so you can never reason or speak logically with someone or a child who is in a fight or flight response. And how do I notice this? It's clearly from the picture, but there's evident that the child is activated. Yeah. Another pathway is the green pathway, which is the rest and digest response. So if you notice the difference between this picture and this picture, I cannot reason and talk to this child at all because they are activated. They actually need to calm down, feel safe. The threat response in their brain needs to calm down until they are able to feel more safe. They're smiling, their voice is calmer, their body's relaxed, their facial expression is there, and I can reason and talk to them. Okay, so whenever you want to talk to children, it's good to talk to them when they are in a relaxed and in a flow state. They're uninhibited, they're not fearful. Okay, so just to do a bit of a summary, we have perceived threat and we have performance mode, which is the continuum. And now I'm going to teach you, and in the perceived threat, there's 80% sympathetic activation and 20% parasympathetic. So parasympathetic is the rest and digest, and sympathetic is the activation state. And now I'm going to teach you a couple of drills, which are vagus activation drills to activate the vagus nerve into a more parasympathetic state. That's one. Number two, I'm going to teach you the Neurohax or some techniques on how to activate that parasympathetic state so that you can help your child be more in a physiological, relaxed state. Okay. So some of the strategies that we're going to discuss are more bottom up. Okay, there's a lot on the internet about top-down information about how to speak to children, how to reason children. But I think it's the most important thing is that the child has to be in a parasympathetic state for you to help them manage all the physiological changes. So just in general, it's good to harness an integrated approach, meaning stress is not just in the brain, stress is everywhere. And if you want to build a healthy body-mind child, then you need to look at many aspects. You want to look at the environment that they are learning in. Are they feeling safe? Do they have a space to play? What are they eating? What water are they drinking? Yeah. And what are some of the healthy habits that I have taught my child or the children in my community? So how much screen time are you allowing the child to sit and just kind of zone out into the screen time versus them having to go outside, run in the fresh air and the sun and get muddy and dirty and all of that. So how do you integrate healthy habits for the child from young to be able to cope and manage and de-stress? Okay, so now I'm going to teach you a very simple way on how do you check with the nervous system. And this is a neurocentric assessment process. And what's really unique about this is it's cool because I'll teach you the process, and then I'll teach you the actual assessment, and then you can actually test for yourself. All right. So if you want to stand up and join me in this, you can. Otherwise, you can always take notes and do it again later. Okay. So the body, when the body is in a survival mode, that actually inhibits movement. Okay. Versus when the body is in a performance mode, the mobility and the quality of the movement improves. So I've got two assessments here. I'm going to try this on myself, and I just want you to watch me, or you can join me. So I'm going to stand up. There's two assessments. The first one is trunk rotation, which is basically I'm just going to move my trunk. And the second one is shoulder adduction. And I just want you to notice how far can I move without straining myself and without putting my body into pain. Okay, so I just want you to just notice how you're doing this. Okay, so let's start with the trunk rotation. So basically you stand with 2 feet next to each other, and you just extend your hands forward, and you just rotate your trunk with your head and your hand, and you go all the way to the left and stop before there's any pain or tension, and you put a mark there, and then you go back to the middle. And then let's do it on the other side. You see, my range of motion is much more better on this side than that side. And then you go back to the middle. All right. So I'm assessing how far I can turn, but also I'm also looking at the quality of my movement. Okay. So this is assessment number one. My second assessment is shoulder adduction. Basically, I just want to see how my shoulder, if I raise my arm with a straight elbow, I go all the way up, and I just want to see how far is my shoulder from my ear. It's the range of motion and the quality of the motion. So if you notice here, this is how far I can go with my left arm. And then I'm going to try it with my right hand. And it's obvious that my range of motion, my mobility is much better on my right hand versus my left hand. Okay. So trunk rotation, I stop, and I do the other side, and I just stop, and I make a point where I have ended. Shoulder adduction, I just lift my arm, straight elbow, and I do the other side. Okay. All right. So this is the assessment. Okay. This is the pre. All right. So now what I'm going to teach you, I'm going to teach you a drill, and I'm going to share with you the drills, which activates that vagus. And remember, the vagus nerve is connected from the bottom of the brain all the way down, and goes all around. So imagine if this, and also there's also parts of it here in the face and around your trachea and your vocal cords. Okay, so imagine that you have access to relax this nerve, and by relaxing this nerve, I'm actually relaxing it all over, so it actually triggers a parasympathetic state. All right. So I'm going to demonstrate. Maybe I'll explain to you the vagus activation drills, the ones that I have right here. And then we will test again. All right. So I'm going to choose. So let me go through them, and then I'll demonstrate, and then I'll do the assessment again. Okay. So the first one is, and this is something that a lot of people know, that when you exhale and your exhale is longer than your inhale, that actually slows down your heart rate and helps you calm down the system. Okay. So for this one, you just inhale for 2 and exhale for up to 20 counts. And when you exhale, you want to purse your lips. So you want to actually just as if you're blowing out of a straw. So it goes in and out. And you do this maybe 5 to 6 times. You just inhale for 2 and out for 10 or 20. All right. You can do this with kids. You can help them lie down, put a soft toy on their belly, and ask them to breathe in from their nose and fill their belly, and breathe out and exhale as if they're blowing out of a straw to slow down the breath and elongate it. Okay. Similarly, that activates the diaphragm and the belly breathing. Okay, so I just described, you can put your hand on your belly, and when you inhale, you want to inhale into your tummy and you want to exhale. Okay, and when you work with kids, have them lie flat, put a soft toy on their belly and say, when you inhale, you know, dinosaur are going to go up, and then dinosaur comes down. All right. Convergence is when, and this is just to activate the vagus again, is when you have something and you just look very close to it and you cross your eyes and you just hold it for 10 seconds. It's kind of like fixed gaze. Okay, so that's convergence. The fourth one is Rosenberg technique. You cross your hands, you lie down, and you put your hands behind your head, and you look to the left with both eyes, and you wait for a yawn, sigh, or swallow. So I usually yawn. That means I just activated my vagus nerve. And then I also look to my right to my right corner, and I do the same. And I just wait for a sigh, a yawn, or a swallow. Okay. And you can notice how my voice got deeper a bit. That's because I just activated my vagus nerve. Okay. So the last one is peripheral vision, and this is good for you as adults also. So basically, if you're wearing glasses, or just take them off, and you look straight into something, and you just look at your hands, you look at your fingers, and just keep looking straight and look at your fingers. So what I'm doing here is I'm activating my peripheral vision. So I can still see my fingers from the sides of my eye. All right. And so I'm activating that peripheral vision. That helps a lot if you are doing a lot of work on the computer. It's good to do that every once in a while. Gargling activates the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve is also connected to this part. Behind your ear and belly button. So we've got 2 points here. There's one here. And there's one. So what you do is you put one hand behind your ear right here. And then you go down to the belly. And you tap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 inches away from the belly to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then to the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then you repeat on the other side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you repeat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Repeat. Okay, so that's these are the points to activate the vagus nerve. So if you're sitting maybe in a restaurant and you feel you're a little bit tense, you could do this very secretively. Okay. All right. The next one is the tummy rub. You just rub the kid's tummy. You can put a little bit of essential oils or lavender. Neck rub, because that's where the vagus is. Tapping is when you tap on both sides of the body, you know, just tap, tap, tap. You activated the breath and you tap. And then humming also. So you can tap and hum at the same time. That helps activate the vagus nerve. Now with the humming, you need to go a bit lower. So you see if you can get the child to hum, and then slow down the tapping. And you do this for maybe 5 to 6 minutes in between assignments or activities. Yeah. And then finally, the tongue. The tongue has a direct link to the vagus. One way is to either push your tongue to your left cheek, or push your tongue to the right cheek. But of course, you have to test. Okay, so we just did the testing, but now I'm just taking you through the drills. All right. So now I'm going to do the full thing. Why am I testing? I'm testing because I want to see which drill Now, we are all wired very, very differently. So I want to see which drill will help me, as Lama, not as somebody else. So it's kind of like a pre-post assessment to see which drill helps you the most. So I'm actually going to do a tongue in my left cheek, and I want you to notice how my body reacts. And then I'm going to do the right side, and then I want you to see how your body reacts. And you could do this with me. All right. So let's do the assessment again. I'll just go back. All right, so assessment, let's just assess the range of motion and the quality of the motion. So feet together, hands together, turn to the left and make a point and go back. And turn to the right and make a point and turn back. And then just test your shoulder. Ooh. All right. Now you can do any of the drills that are here, anything. So you can do 10 exhale in and out for 20 and then test again. But I'm going to do the one with the tongue because it's quite quick. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my tongue in my left cheek. And I'm going to do the assessment while I have got my tongue in my left cheek. Okay. So if you noticed, my shoulder, when my tongue was in my left cheek, I had better range of motion. So initially, this was my range of motion, my tongue in my left cheek. And that's because my body is in a more relaxed state. Okay. So, and I know that you will have the recording, so don't worry too much about following me right now. You can always watch it again. But basically, the most important thing is that you test, do the drill 3 to 5 times, and then test again to see if this drill works for you, because you are unique in your nervous system, your brain, even your thumbprint. We're all very, very wired differently. Okay. But all of these drills have shown improvement in activating vagus nerve activation. Okay. So that's basically it. So we want to activate a more relaxed state. And once you decide on which ones work for you, what will you do is you will take those drills, same drills, and repeat them 3 to 5 times in the day. So maybe when you wake up, one time, maybe right before you get a drink of water, you do 3 breaths of inhale, 2 out for 20. Why? Because I want to be in a parasympathetic state throughout the day, right? I want to activate this relaxed, healing state so that I'm able to manage and function better. Okay. Another set of activities that you can do are neurohacks. All right. So, and notice the vagus activation drills are part of the neurohacks. Secondly is social contact. Kids need to play and learn. Grounding, meaning you take off your shoes and you run on grass or on sand barefoot. Going out to nature. Night vision is when it's really dark and you open up your eyes and you just wait to activate that night vision, and you start seeing things in the dark. Things will become clear after about 35 minutes. Okay, and that activates a vagus nerve activation, parasympathetic state. Nutrition is very important, that you're eating healthy, all colors of the rainbow, preferably organic food that doesn't have any pesticides. A lot of movement. Kids need to move. You need to move. Your body is designed to move. We have specific joints that are so integral. Even your spine, if you look at your spine, it's just so beautiful. There's fluidity, and it's a wave-like structure, by the way. All these intricate little things that we can do with the spine. Sleep, please sleep, and please sleep deeply, and make sure that you have a routine right before you fall asleep. The worst thing is I fall asleep right after I stare at my phone, because the phone has blue light and it inhibits melatonin, and it stops you from producing your sleep hormone right before you go to sleep. So it's actually a very bad habit. Okay. Sunlight. You want your rhythms to be in sync with nature. So waking up with the sun, just feeling the sun on your face, especially the morning sun, and in the evenings, stimulate that the light in your house. If you notice, my environment is very warm. Okay, night light, red lights, orange, deep, warm, crimson lights is what you need when it's sunset and throughout the evening, and not the white fluorescent lights that's highly stimulating and very alert. It triggers an alert state. Okay, water. Hopefully your water you're drinking is filtered, and you can get the child to soak their face in a small bowl with some ice cubes and some cold water. That always activates the vagus nerve. And creative activities and hobbies. I can't reiterate how important it is for children to wonder, to dream, to imagine, to be creative, to not know and try and take risks. It's just just getting into that playful space is very, very important. So what is your role as a parent? I think it's important before you put the oxygen mask on your child, is that you wear it first. All right. So you really want to build a healthy child, you have to it starts from you. You are the change. All right. So not only that you model it, but by the way, have you ever been into a room and you just walked into a strange environment, or just any environment, and you got the vibe that there's something weird here? Just type yes in the chat. Yeah. Or you met someone, you're like, it doesn't feel, I'm just not, that's a bit, yeah. All right. Do you know why that is? Because actually your nervous system is receiving inputs. 80% goes through the body into the brain. The brain, what does it do? Interprets it based on your experiences or your perceived threat. All right. Whether that there's a vibe or not a vibe, that's a different story. But your body is receiving this information. And similarly, your child tunes in to your nervous system. They're like two nervous systems together. And imagine a tuning fork. Have you ever seen a tuning fork? If I hit one tuning fork, what happens to the other one? It vibrates with the same frequency. So what I'm trying to say here is you are the change. All right. If you feel that your child is very anxious, please look at yourself first and notice, what am I triggering in my child? How is my nervous system affecting my child's nervous system? Because they are a part of you. They came from you. All right. And through the concept of neuroception, you can Google that term, neuroception, and the work of Dr. Steve Porges, and the work of vagus nerve activation and the 3 levels on vagal tone. We are kind of like, our nervous system is like the antenna, and it detects threat and danger and anxiety and all that information. It's just that we sometimes we're disconnected from that and we don't tune into that frequency. Okay. So remember, what are you broadcasting? How are you in your physiological state? What are you communicating to your child? And utilize the concept of co-regulation. So if you are thinking that your child is very stressed, so how can you down-regulate you come into a more parasympathetic state, hold the child, talk gently, quietly, so breathe together, hand on the heart together, so that you can help them manage, manage and be with and manage and hold and come together into a more parasympathetic state together. Okay. And for teachers, I used to be a teacher in the past, so I really appreciate all the wonderful teachers out there, and I know how stressful it can be. But maybe sometimes it's just about allowing the kids to move. I know sometimes that could be very chaotic and difficult, but just allowing them to have breaks, have movement breaks, have stretching breaks, allow movement integration for cognition, for learning, for expression, for, what's wrong with standing up and speaking, or standing on one leg and answering, or, putting your hand on the nose, or, kind of integrating a little bit of movement, a lot of a bit of rapport building, just to help kids manage better and cope with the environments that they're in. Schools are not easy environments to cope with. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of sensory issues, and sometimes the kids can't feel very safe in that space. Okay. And the team at Ability has created wonderful Mandela Worksheets for you. They're just wonderful to have. Sometimes coloring in can just take you off on a tangent, and you can just be totally absorbed into the shapes and colors. And it's just a mindful activity to get you more in tune, or get the child more in tune with coloring in, just focusing on what is being presented in the present moment. Okay. So I just want to conclude with a quote by Tony Robbins: "You can't raise a happy, more resilient kid if you're not a happy, more resilient adult." And with that, I think now we'll open up the floors for Q&A. And thank you so much for listening for me. And you'll have the recording, so please go back to learn more about vagus nerve activation and helping the child get into a more state of flow. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lama, for a wonderful and an insightful presentation for our participants. I'm sure they would all agree with me that they have learned a lot about the vagus activation and how they could help children overcome stress. Thank you so much, and thank you, participants, for listening. Now, when I had started off, I had also told how you could help and support and solve the problem of parents not being able to support their child academically. And we all know that parental involvement is the key to help develop a child holistically. And in that regard, research also shows as parents become more involved and empowered in the special education process, the outcomes of students improve. And when we want to raise parent awareness and support the parent community, one of the most effective things that we can do is to help parents become aware and be engaged in the child's progress. So, a parent who understands how they could help the child can make a huge difference to the progress a child makes. And in that regard, before I tell you more about it, I would like you all to answer a few polls. So, I would be launching the polls where I want you to help me with it by answering. Can I ask Disha to launch poll 1, please? When you launch the poll, you will be able to see questions on your screen as to how important do you think it is to raise awareness among parents. You think it's very important, important, not at all important? You could pour in your answer. How important do you think it is to raise awareness among parents? Waiting for your responses. A few seconds to go. Okay, we could see fantastic. Majority of you say it's very important. Great. So we move on to the next question. Yeah. Could we have the next question, please?
Ms. Shivani, I'm facing some technical glitch. Could you try it at your end, please?
So, okay, as you all can see, that's the first thing, sharing with you the results. And now I'm launching the poll 2. It is on your screens. How many parents do you know who have children with academic challenges? Is it between 0 to 10, 10 to 30, or above 30? Great. A lot of you know parents who are having children with academic challenges. I see a few of you still answering. I'm giving it a moment. Fantastic. Okay. So this is what most of you told, that you have between 0 to 10, 10 to 30, and also above 30, quite a chunk. So in that regard, do you think you want to play an important role by raising awareness among the parent community? Do you wish to raise awareness and support and help them to have a better understanding of their child? Fantastic. I see a lot of you wanting to be a part of how you could support parents better. And this is a problem that most of us have, the lack of awareness where what parents can do next to support their child. And yes, so sharing with you the results, what most of you have said, that yes, it is important to raise awareness, and also you would wish to be a part in that. And now, moving on in that regard, ability has come up with the Parent Awareness Program, Understanding Why Your Child is Not Doing Well Academically. It is a series of 5 short videos that will help parents get a glimpse into how they could better support their child with the academic challenges that the child is facing. And in that, to do my bit, I have created my page to make an impact in the parent community that I know. So in the parent community, I share this link that is unique to me where they know that they are being invited by a psychologist or a special educator to view the video series. So in this video series, when they view, they could click on register and register themselves to view, and they'll also get a glimpse into the trailer that will tell them what the video series is all about. So they could click on it, view it, and be a part of it. So if you also want to create your unique links, it's a 3-step simple process that I will be taking you through it. So you could help the parents you know to understand and be a positive force in the child's progress by becoming an influencer to create an impact in the parent community. So this video series is one way of raising awareness amongst parents on why their children are facing the challenges and the role that they could play. So the 3-step process is where you sign up, you personalize your page like I showed you, and then you could run your campaign and you're ready to share and raise awareness. So now, if you look at the chat box, you will receive a link to sign up. So I request my team member to share the link in which you could click on it and you would be directed to the sign up page. So when you click on it, you will see that you will reach the tab of raise your campaign. So start your awareness campaign. So when you click on start your awareness campaign, it will take you to the button where you could enter your details and register. Start your awareness campaign and sign up. Here, you could add in your details to sign up. So the details are to be entered, your password and your email, and then you are ready to move on to the next step. Once you agree to the terms and conditions, you can click on Start Your Awareness Campaign, and that brings you to the other page of how you could create your profile and personalize it. I hope you're all with me on the sign up page. The link has been posted in the chat box. So once you click on the link and register, I'll wait for a moment till you all reach there. Post that, you come on to the personalization. So when you come to personalization, you can add in your name, your role, your city, and your country. Then you could put in your role as a teacher, parent, special educator, and you have to put in your city and country. It's optional to put in your photo, name, and your name of the organization that you work for and your organization's logo. So I see that there are over 100 of you with me. That's really nice. The others could also find the link in the chat box and create your personal unique link so that we together could raise awareness amongst the parent community. So once you reach on the personalized page, you will see that once you come here, you can fill in your details. So you're invited by, you pour in your name, you pour in your designation, you put in your organization. In case you do not have your photo handy now, please do move on by just putting your name and the designation. That's how you could personalize your page. Once you have put in the details, you can go and click on this save button. Once you are happy with the changes, you click on the save button, and when you click on the save button, you can start your awareness campaign. So you click on this save button once you have entered all the details. Post that, you're ready to launch a campaign where you could have your unique link and you can share it with parents amongst your community. And let me show you how. So once you click on start your campaign, you will be redirected to this page and you can copy the link for invite to share it in whichever social media platform you would like to, or you can also invite via WhatsApp. Once you click on invite via WhatsApp, you could share it to various parent groups or the parent community you know, and that helps you to create your unique link. Once you share this link, I'm sure you all must be wondering how would your page look like. So your page unique to you would look like this. So it would come that you are invited by. So if you are creating, it would be your name and your designation with your photo and your organization, and the parents need to click on the register button. So this is how your parent sign up page would look at and post this. Once we send it across to parents, we are definitely curious as to how much impact have we made or how much awareness has been into picture with our sharing. So once you want to know about it, you could come to your influencer dashboard to know the impact that is being created with your link. So in the influencer dashboard, you need to come to this hamburger. Once we come on to this hamburger and you click on it, you get your option of program and you click on it to scroll down. You will get to know how many people or parents in your community have registered. Steps completed is how many videos have they watched, and program completion is that they have watched the entire 5 videos that are part of this video series. So this is how you could create your unique links and also know the impact that you are creating to raise awareness. With this, we move on to our question and answer session. Are you ready for the first question, Ms. Lama?
Certainly.
Fantastic. So I have a question from Ms. Eugenia, who wants to know that there are sometimes children who are actually aware that they're not putting in the effort or they're not studying for the exams, but they're not able to motivate themselves, and they're also inspired by others. What can parents do in such a situation?
For kids who lack motivation or they're not able to feel connected, I think it's important to give them a break and to talk to them, have a chat, see what a lot of times when we don't have the motivation, our vagus nerve is actually in a state that is a bit like a freeze response. They are like non-engaging, they're not interested. I only showed the flight fight and the parasympathetic, the green, the happy kid, yeah. But there's another one where there's like disengagement or not interested. That's when our vagus activation is actually in a dorsal state where it's like they're frozen or they're not interested or they're bored or So lack of motivation is very common, especially because a lot of times we teach kids, it's not about teaching them from a curious place. It's more about like rote learning or regurgitating information. So how can we make learning fun? How can we engage learning in an opportunity for curiosity and inquisitive learning so that the child is able to process, learn, things for their own. So integrating play, a game, or something like that can help the kid, just make them a bit more excited about the topic or something like that. I think that would be very helpful, and just get them to play. Okay, Shivani.
Thank you so much. Balancing between play and studies is extremely important, along with movement. There's another question by Ms. Lubna Rashid. She says that despite being a qualified gynecologist, I find myself more stressed than my daughter for her entrance exam. So how can I control myself before the child?
Okay, thanks, Lubna. Thanks for your honesty. It's just really a pleasure to hold that vulnerability for you. And you know, I think stress is part of life, and it's not going to go away. So I don't know what if you have any daily practices that you have, any prayers or any. I don't know if Lubna is with us today. I'm not sure, or if you have any meditation or guided practices that you practice, or just some breathing techniques that can help you you know, manage your own stress and anxiety, because you really don't want to impact your child. So, and it's important that you do it throughout the day. For you know, I call them the gold nuggets, you know, just integrating parasympathetic states throughout the day, so you are reducing the threat response into the brain. And I'd like to invite everybody here today to notice what is more kinder, to say I am stressed, or to say my brain feels unsafe. I just need to make my brain safe now. Yeah. So just notice what are some of the thoughts that you have. All right. And just tune in. Okay. So my brain is not safe. Okay. I just need to calm it down a little bit. I need to calm down my brain, help my body cope, manage, support my body with whatever that anxiety or feeling that I'm experiencing. One quick way that that I teach my a program called B is you just place one hand on your heart and imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of your heart center, taking a deep breath in and out. And imagine that you're breathing ease, like a sense of ease or nurturing ease. Okay. And breathing in for 5 counts and out for 5 counts. And see if you can do this 5 times. And that's it. All right. Okay, great. Shivani?
Yes. Thank you for this beautiful activity. I'm sure they would want to practice it and see the impact of it. So now we have a question from Anjali Sharma. How can we make parents understand to not simply put their career choices on the children, because that's the biggest academic stress that is there in today's time?
You mean like in the future? Well, I don't know, but the world is changing, and it's changing really, really fast. And we've got artificial intelligence is coming, and I don't know what the percentage is, but you know, in the next 10 years, the world is not going to look like how we expect it to look like, right? So I think for me, it's important to raise a child who's aware, who's connected or to themselves and their body. They're able to manage their emotion. They're happy. That's for me is a lot more important than achieving, you know, academic results or things on tests. That's very, very key, because if I have a very stressed child, they will not be able to cope, whether if it's academic or life or anything like that. So it's good to build a healthy, resilient foundation from the start, looking at an integrated approach, looking at food, sleep, habits, a play time, you know, allowing the child to be who they are, to voice how they're feeling, and to be connected to their body and mind, so that they're able to manage whatever situation they experience later on in life.
Focusing on the overall development becomes the key and not only the academics. So now on those lines, we have a question by Hijab Zahara, who wants to know that if a student has 2 years gap in studies and is now hesitant to participate in classwork, how can we rebuild the confidence and motivate him to participate?
It depends on the situation of the child. If the child is in the same class, or is he being held behind because of a particular incident or situation, sometimes it's good to have a chat to the child, allow them to express how they're feeling about this situation. How do I view myself? What are some of the things that I'm thinking? You know, I missed 2 years because I failed. Yeah. it's important for them to learn that it's not their fault, whatever has happened to them, and they'll eventually catch up. But it's important that there's support in the school system, and that they are, sometimes it's also helpful not to have them in the same school, because if his classmates or her classmates are there and they are they have moved on, and he's seeing them all the time, that might be impacting their overall health and well-being. But it's good to keep an open channel of communication and tap into what are some of the things that child is experiencing. What are they afraid of? How are they talking to themselves? What's the idea about, how are they judging themselves? Do you think that they are not enough, not good enough? And just see if you can support with whatever strengths they have, and help boost their self-esteem through things that they enjoy doing or love doing.
Thank you so much for throwing light on this question. Now we have a case-specific question from Rabia Rashid, that she has a son who is shunt dependent and suffered right side paralysis during endoscopy and shunt replacement at the age of 4 years. Now he walks with 2 tendon lengthening surgeries, but his right hand does not support him. He's going to school, he uses his left hand for writing, but every morning is a test for them. He
Yes.
complains of stomachache and his learning is slow. How can he be supported to cope with the disability and also the learning stress that he's undergoing?
I'd like to acknowledge your journey. First of all, I think that's really important for me to acknowledge that. So thank you so much for sharing. Everything that your child is experiencing is not easy, I feel. But I think it's important to make sure that there's manage the expectations on this child. Okay, so I think sometimes it's just about seeing things from a different angle, looking at their strengths, harnessing the strengths, focusing on what they can do versus not what they cannot do. Just work from a strength-based approach to support this development. They'll catch up. It's just his own path, and they will catch up, and they will be able to manage. But maybe he's going to be a bit slower than the others, but that's okay. So I think it's important to manage the expectations and just keeping an open channel with children who have experienced some trauma or some medical conditions that has depleted their ability to progress as the other kids. It's important to also nurture the body with good nutrition, good sleep habits, reduce the stress. Every day is a challenge. See how can that process be more with ease, with more fluidity to support, one step at a time, one moment at a time. Just take the little steps throughout the day and see how that can support your child. But I can imagine it's not very easy situation to work with.
Thank you so much for letting the parent know that small steps can definitely bring about a change in the child. So we'll take the last question for today, ma'am. It's by Aliza, who wants to know that how can we help our children who are more into online games than doing their academic works? And this causes stress in the relationship, as well as then at the last moment, children develop academic stress.
Okay, all right. This is always a tricky situation because I think, how did the child get the phone from the start or the iPad? Okay, so how much time do you spend on the iPad or the phone? And how is your child mirroring that? Okay, so I think sometimes you can't be spending too much time on your phone or your gadget and your child cannot. Okay, so a lot of kids learn, they're like sponges, they learn from their parents. So one important thing is, do you limit screen to one particular room? like all the TVs, what if you just move all the TVs, all the electrical gadgets to one particular room, and that room can be accessed as a family, all from one area. And see if you can integrate more games and connecting time, walk time, things that you can all do together as a family. I think because sometimes when kids, unfortunately, playing the games, it does go to the reward system of the brain, and sometimes can be very addictive. You want to get to the best, next level, the next level, the next level. So we don't want to turn this experience into another argument. So how do I avoid the argument? How do I manage myself in the argument? How can I work around this particular issue? It depends on how many hours and how long have your child been on the electronic gadgets. And what are you modeling in terms of how much time are you spending in that sense? So I think it's a whole system approach, it's a family system approach, rather than just one, just kind of saying to your child, go do your homework, go do your homework. I notice like sometimes that you say things all the time, but they don't work. So if they don't work, we need to strategize and find different ways to connect to children, because they need to be on sometimes it's important for them to be connected to their friends and so on and so forth.
Finding the right balance is important. There's another question, ma'am, actually, by Bernadette and Fablin, who wants to know, how can we handle the situation as teachers when we see parents put pressure onto their child and that becomes a source of academic stress?
Send the parents to counseling. I think it's important. And no, I think it's good to it's good to have a chat and parents meeting. I think sometimes the in the research, it does indicate that the academic stress is actually not from the academics, but it's actually how the child is perceiving themselves in the learning process. So I think it's good to have a chat to the parents and just and I know sometimes this could be a bit cultural. Sometimes certain cultures are more demanding. Sometimes I mean, I came from the Middle East, so we also have that high expectations. So but it's good to have to have a chat to to the parents. Okay.
Right. Psychoeducating the parents helps a long way in solving this kind of problem. So the last question is a solution that somebody's seeking from you, Ehan Rahman. She says that it's to be honest, she's always been spending time playing games at the start of her exams. How can she cope with it? Because at the end, she ends up being stressed out.
From the game?
No. So when the exams arrive, that's when she starts playing a lot of games and she has little time in hand to learn for the exam.
Oh.
And she realizes it, the stress builds up. So how could she be helped for that?
That's interesting. So she starts to play games when she starts to have, you start to play the game when you're having exams. You increase the game playing. It's kind of like you're trying to cope with the stress. That's very interesting. Okay. I think you need to find an alternative that gives you that same reward system. Sometimes maybe change the type of game. Is there any games that are more like mindful or slow down or something boring so that you don't get so activated? Because remember, if you're playing like games that are like shooting or killing or like, you need to achieve more and more and more, that's like activating the reward system, similar to like social media. You have to be very careful also with like how much time you spend on social media and what are you subconscious thoughts telling you, I'm not so good at this person or this person and this person. So I think it's important to just notice and you have the power. So see if you can find solutions for yourself. I think it's important. That's funny.
Self-control is what comes into the picture here. I thank Ms. Lama for patiently answering your queries, and I thank you all for being excellent and participative throughout the session. The feedback link is going to be shared in the chat box. Do drop in your feedback about the session, and we are there to improvise these services for you. Also, we have something special, as I told you, from Ms. Lama for all of you. It is that Ma'am's organization, Extraordinary People, that's based in Singapore, is sponsoring 10 ability members so that they could be a part of the BE program, which Ma'am was talking about. So this program will aim to reduce anxiety, enhance sleep, improve performance, reduce stress. A few of the techniques that she spoke about is from that. Enhance career of one, and also improve relationships around. So if you are carers of children with special needs, and are committed to complete all the 6 weekly online sessions, and also will be able to participate in the evaluation post the program. The Google Form link would be posted in the chat box. It is weekly once for 6 weeks, starting from 24th May. Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, you could choose, and the timing is 7:30 to 9 p.m. Singapore time. So if you are interested, do fill in your interest in the Google form that is being shared right now in the chat box. And also, we have the upcoming sessions on the 12th of May by Mrs. Smitha Tripathi on improving arithmetic skills in children with special needs, and on the 19th May by Dr. Mary Grace Gomez, how to work with parents whose children face academic difficulties. Do share the care and forward the link to others whom you feel can benefit from it. Before we end, we would like to hear it from Ms. Lama. How has her experience been for the day?
It's been great. It's wonderful. It's lovely to see, I think 5,000 people signed up and then 600 people showed up. And I can feel everybody's energy and enthusiasm, and hopefully you can watch it again. And thank you again for investing the time to come and experience this short presentation. And thank you so much for ability for all the amazing, wonderful resources and platform and community that they have built. As an amazing website, amazing people behind the scene. And thank you so much, Shivani, for hosting me tonight, and for Lily for holding ability in her hands and heart. And I really thank everybody for tonight, and thank you so much, and good night.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lama. It's been a pleasure having you here. I could see a lot of wonderful feedback pouring in the chat box for you. The links would be shared again in the chat box of the sign up page. If you have not been able to sign up through me, please do click on the link, and you would be able to do it through the handbook that we'll also be posting. It will be a step-by-step guide that will help you to become an influencer through which you can make an impact. Until we see you again, it's a big bye from Team Ability. Have a wonderful day ahead.